All your families must be very proud of you, all your hard work, and it's important that you take part in progress of our country in whatever profession you choose. I'll finish with a poem. I'm a child of the Dreamtime people, part of this land like the Nile gum tree. I am the river softly singing, chanting our songs on the way to the sea. My spirit is the dust devils, mirages that dance on the plains. I'm the snow, the wind and the falling rain. I'm part of the rock and the red desert earth, red as the blood that flows through my veins. I am eagle, crow and snake that glides through the rainforest that clings to the mountainside. I awakened here when the earth was new. There was wombat, emu, kangaroo, no other man of a different hue. I am this land and this land is me. I am Australia. In closing, thank you for the invitation to speak with you. It's very important that we share a little bit of our history with everyone today. So in closing, Waminjaka Waranjari Balik, Yemen Kondibik, welcome to the beautiful lands and waters of the Wurundjeri people, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Zita. We're honoured for you to speak with us and welcome us this morning, and thank you very much. Thank you. Next up for our celebration this morning, I'd wish to invite our ACAP General Manager, Lara Jacques, to officially welcome our distinguished guests, graduands, families, friends, academic and professional staff of the college. Lara.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome esteemed guests, colleagues, graduates, family and friends. And thank you, Auntie Zita, for the welcome to country. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to this wonderful occasion in the life of our graduates. Today is a very special and exciting day for the ACAP community in addition to you all. Today represents the culmination of a great commitment, effort, dedication of each graduate standing before you. The achievement from which I am all sure you are immensely proud. To the graduates, while this is your day and your achievement, I want you to remember those who have helped you along the way to achieve this incredible success. Your family, your friends, your ACAP educators. To our many wonderful ACAP staff and educators, thank you for all of you done to educate and open the minds of our graduates. There are many within the ACAP community who contribute to the success of all of you today. Not just our incredible educators. I'd like to thank the many student-facing other teams for their hard work, including student engagement, the student placements team, learning and support, accessibility and student counselling, along with the many varied and back office and administrative team members who have helped each of you achieve this incredible milestone. Thank you. At ACAP, we study, explore and immerse ourselves in what it is to be human, whether that be in sociological sciences, criminology, social work, counselling or management. In your future careers, your focus will be to engage, support and at times challenge those who you are working with. And your work will continue to increase and continue to progress our society both locally and globally. I would encourage you to lead with empathy, listen deeply and never forget the life-changing impact that your work will have on those around you. During my career so far, in addition to the skills and experience I've learned through formal education, one of the most powerful and positive impacts has been all of the connections that I've made. The people I have met, informally learned from, and continue to this day to keep in touch with. I hope during your time at ACAP, you have made connections which will last. I hope you have connected with your educators, your ACAP staff, your industry, and of course, your fellow graduates. Connections can be very powerful in life. They can open doors, they can help with a problem, they can inspire you, and they can also keep you grounded. After today, we are immensely proud to call you ACAP alumni. I hope you keep connected with ACAP, share your stories and what's happening within your careers as you progress on the next part of your adventure. I wish you the best of luck with your chosen career, and I can't wait to have you part of our alumni network. Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you, Lara. And now, on to the conferring of awards. Today's ceremony is one of the most ancient ceremonies of higher education. It is the formal presentation of candidates by the faculty, represented by a leading academic from each discipline, to the Dean of the ACAP University College, Professor Christopher Clopper, representing the authority of the institution to confer the awards. I invite Matthew Thurgood, Senior Lecturer and Course Leader, Criminology and Justice, to present the counselling graduates to Professor Clopper.
Professor Clopper, I present to you candidates for the Diploma of Counselling Skills. Lisa Kesby Moore. Professor Clopper, I present to you candidates for the Bachelor of Counselling. Rihanna Beardsall. Amy Michelle Cornwell. Sophia Edwards. Linda Graham. Paul Brian Lees. Aswin Sakranthan. Emily Thomas. Michelle Sinyan Yu. Professor Clopper, I present to you candidates for the Graduate Diploma of Counselling. Sally Inglis. Chantel Kant. Professor Clopper, I present to you candidates for the Master of Counselling and Psychotherapy. Mabina Abdul Ghani. Sarah Julia Birchall. Rana Chuon. Alicia Shay Cox. Helena Azrez Hagos. Ellen Nicole McDonald. Apologies, I ruined the order. Vered Harrell. Kate Amanda Miller. Naya Rizwan. Marina Ann Spiteri. Swavi Sterling. Melissa Jane Tinney.
Thank you, Matthew. I now invite Dr. Tatenda Manamano, Discipline Lead in the Discipline of Social Work, to present social work graduands to Professor Klopper.
Professor Klopper, I present to you candidates for the Bachelor of Social Work. Nu Queen Tran. Professor Klopper, I present to you candidates for the Graduate Certificate of Human Services. Sharon Chumba. Harita Yasari Dewa. Mercy Karungari Kariyuki. Stella Tuwei. Professor Klopper, I present to you candidates for the Master of Social Work qualifying. Henry Ajibo. With merit, Matilda Catherine Baud. Nimina Bat. Joferica Trinity Book. Heidi Gonzalez Cabacas. Lana Dunlog. Shirley Lorna Darcy. Toi Puyong Lei Florence. Sukman Kaur. Joanne Koilegi. Ritu Maji. Simba Mashakada. Basanta Patak. Chandni Rajendra Bai Raj. Anjali Sharma. Ritu Sreshar. Avneet Singh. Lokendra Singh. Sadika Tasnim. Lam Tran. Titi Amit Bai Upadhyay. Sophia Vaga. Rhiannon Williams Demon.
Thank you, Dr. Manamano. I now invite Professor John Rees, Melbourne Campus Discipline Lead for Psychology, to present the psychology graduands to Professor Klopper.
Professor Klopper, I present to you candidate for the Bachelor of Psychological Science, Kalina Platz. Professor Klopper, I present to you candidates for the Bachelor of Psychological Science and Counselling, Kirsten Renee Elliott. Michelle Louise Gordon. Viola Chilimo Kipkarui. Ivana Katica Kovacevic. Faye Alexis McCatallard. Megan Lynn McKinnon. Amy Louise McKenna. Talia Elisa West. Professor Klopper, I present to you candidates for the Bachelor of Psychological Science and Criminology. Saina Agazamani. Professor Klopper, I present to you candidates for the Bachelor of Psychological Science, graduating with Merit Honours First Class. Erica Clara Merla. Asha Hiek Salom. Professor Klopper, I present to you candidate for the Graduate Certificate of Psychological Science, Esther Matthew. Professor Klopper, I present to you candidate for the Graduate Diploma of Psychological Science, Jeremy Joy Trist.
Thank you, Professor Rees. I now invite Desi Vlahos, course leader and senior lecturer in the discipline of law, to present the management and law graduands to Professor Klopper.
Professor Klopper, I present to you the candidates for the Graduate Certificate of Applied Coaching. Anindita Dutt. Rachel Fung. Professor Klopper, I present to you the candidates for the Graduate Diploma of Legal Practice. Maywish Irum. Eliza Jude Maddock.
Thank you, Desi. Congratulations to all our graduates, and I now invite Professor Klopper to deliver the charge to graduates. Would all graduates please stand?
Today, you stand before this assembly to be acknowledged as joining the ranks of scholarly peers. In today's ceremony, you have been clothed in the symbols of scholarship, the cap, your gown, and the parchment, to indicate to the wider community of scholars and the public at large that you have reached the completion of your studies with us. As ACAP University College graduates, we charge you with the mission to seek out your place in the human services and applied professions, to pursue a meaningful, sustainable, and successful career. You do us proud to succeed in your studies, and through this public acknowledgement of your achievement, we send you forward as graduates and ACAP alumni. Honoured guests, colleagues, family and friends, I present to you the newest ACAP graduates.
Thank you, Professor Klopper. Graduates, please be seated. It's now my pleasure to introduce one of our esteemed professors who will deliver today's occasional address. Professor John Rees commenced at ACAP at the start of 2014. Before that, John was an Associate Professor of Psychology at RMIT University, where he worked since 1994. John completed his honours degree in psychology, followed by a PhD at La Trobe University. While completing his PhD, he commenced his first full-time role as an associate lecturer at La Trobe. In 1994, John left La Trobe to move to RMIT, where he worked until joining us here at ACAP. During his time at RMIT, John held the position of Dean of the School of Graduate Research and was also a Principal Research Fellow in the School of Psychology at the University of Melbourne from 2003 to 2006. In 2008, John was appointed to the Australian Psychological Society's Science, Academia and Education Advisory Board, and from 2004 to 2006, he served as the Chief Examiner of the VCE Psychology in Victoria. John has held a range of leadership roles in the Australian Psychological Society's Psychology Education Interest Group, and for many years he's done that. Over the last 15 years, John has won numerous institutional and national teaching awards, including the two highest individual teaching awards offered at RMIT University, the Vice-Chancellor's Distinguished Teaching Award and the RMIT's Award for Outstanding Contribution to Teaching and Research. Those students who have been fortunate to be taught by John would understand why he's won those awards. Please join me in welcoming Professor John Rees.
Thanks very much for that very humbling introduction, Andrew. I really appreciate it. Graduands, colleagues and guests, let me begin by adding my most heartfelt congratulations to this year's graduating students and to say what an honour and what a pleasure it is to be invited to address you here this afternoon. It's wonderful to see such a large number of graduating students and their loved ones here with us today in such a fine venue. I hope you enjoy the day as much as we enjoy putting it together for you. Graduates, this is your day, a day for you and those close to you, family and friends, to share in the celebration of your achievements. Now, when I was invited to give this presentation, I thought for some time about what to talk about, and all sorts of different topics and ideas kept on popping into my head, and try as I might, I couldn't weave them all into a single coherent narrative. So I've decided to divide this talk into a few distinct chapters and reflect on it's not going to be as long as you think. Don't sweat. And reflect on a few things that I feel are relevant to higher education, graduation, and what's brought you all here today. Now, this is exactly the sort of talk that if you submitted it as an assessment, you'd probably get a pretty poor mark. There's no flow, you'd be told. It's a cut and paste job with poor narrative structure. And of course, the old faithful, you can do better. Why don't you make a time with student learning support? They're good people. Where's Nick? Yeah, they're great. Sound advice. But I don't think even our wonderful colleagues at Student Learning Support could make any sense out of my dad jokes. Anyway, the very first phrase that came to me when I was thinking about this was the old African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. Now, I'm sure you all know what that saying means, and there's a lot of common sense behind it. But could we just as easily say it takes a village to make a graduate? Now, Lara's already alluded to this. Think about this. You're all here today because of your hard work, your dedication, your commitment, your intelligence, but you're also here because of your village. Look around you, the people on this stage, the people sitting around you, your fellow graduates, the people at ACAP who helped you every step of the way, the admin staff, the IT help desk, the librarians, the student learning support, and most importantly, your loved ones, your family and friends, partners and children joining you here today. That's your village. It's true, you did the work, you participated in the tutorials, you attended the lectures and workshops and seminars and placement hours. You spent the hours on assessments, and for this you should be celebrated today. But you wouldn't have been able to do that without the help from your village. All those people surrounding you, helping you, encouraging you, supporting you, pushing you along, making your decision to study feel valued, worthwhile, and important. You didn't do this in isolation. And what I'd like you to do now, for me, the graduates, I'd like I'd like to get you to give your village a round of applause. That's great, thank you, fantastic. The second phrase that I thought of when I was thinking about what I would talk about today was this one: the more things change, the more they stay the same. I'm old, you can see that, but I'm not so old that I can't remember vividly my own first graduation as a student from La Trobe University all the way back in 1985. I have a photo taken on that day above my desk at home. There I was, wide fluorescent tie, flared pants, magnificent head of flowing hair, a fit 75 kilos, pretty much the same as today. And there was my mother bursting with pride. I was what was called a first-in-family graduate. In other words, I was the first member of my immediate family to graduate from university. It was a big deal to my mum. She and my father had been denied the opportunity of a higher education by a range of circumstances common at the time. My father grew up dirt poor in country Tasmania and had to leave school at a very young age to contribute to the family income by working as a miner in what he referred to as, quote, hillbilly country. He regularly had to shoot kangaroos and rabbits to put meat on the table. His elder brother eventually became the Premier of Tasmania for over a decade, and my father became a respected aircraft engineer after serving in the Air Force in World War II. He was an older father and died when I was very young. He didn't get to see me graduate. My mother was forced to leave school at 14 for the same reason, and she always placed enormous value on education as a pathway to employment security, which is pretty important to someone who grew up in Collingwood during the Great Depression. She was 3 when the Depression began, 13 at the start of World War II, 19 when it ended. Tough teen years. She encouraged me to gain as much educational experience as I wanted, and I ended up at university for 14 years. Now, you might be thinking, wow, 14 years at uni, that must have cost a fortune. Your HECS debt must have been massive. What HECS debt? In 1974, the Whitlam Labor government made university education in this country totally free for all students, and that policy stayed in place for 15 glorious years until 1989. As someone who started at university in 1979, my university education cost me precisely nothing. So if any baby boomer ever has a go at you about for how long you've spent in higher education, tell them that Professor Rees says, "Get stuffed, boomer. You got it for nothing." Don't actually say that, sort of, say it moderated a bit. It's something a lot of our politicians who are boomers seem to have conveniently forgotten. I absolutely love that phrase, first in family, and I'm very proud to carry that label. Now, just out of interest, how many first in family graduates do we have today? Show us your hands. Wow, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. Well done, well done. Isn't it terrific that we live in a country, and it's not perfect, but we live in a country where we have such a degree of opportunity to pursue our educational ambitions. I honestly don't feel there are too many countries in the world where that many hands would go into the air. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. The university experience that I enjoyed was a very different one that you have experienced in your time with ACAP. In 1985, there were no mobile phones, no email, no internet of any sort, no Moodle class spaces, no recorded lectures, no PDFs of journal articles and lecture notes, no Zoom tutorials, no social networking of any sort, and, wait for it, no AI. Lecturers still wrote on the blackboard, although overhead projectors were just a new trend coming into vogue. Online education was unknown. If you couldn't get to the campus, you either had to attend evening classes or study by correspondence, which involved being sent phone book-sized collections of notes and readings by what we now commonly refer to as snail mail. If you missed a lecture, you had to borrow the notes from a mate. Smoking had just been banned in lecture theatres. I tell my students the story of how we used to have Saturday morning exams in 2 rooms, one smoking, one non-smoking, and how we took a vote in my first tutorial class on whether we would allow smoking in the class. The no vote just got over the line. And my team, Essendon, were on their way to winning the second of their back-to-back premierships. That shows you how long ago it was. The overwhelming majority of students were young students who had come straight from secondary school. Those oddities we called, quote, mature age students, anyone over 25, were few in number and could always be identified by sitting in the front of the lecture theatre, paying close attention to every word the lecturer said, while us youngsters sat up the back passing around a cask of Coolabah Moselle. Boy, that was rank stuff, but it was cheap. It was as if once you... Don't you laugh, O'Brien, I know you have done it. It was as if once you hit a certain age, university was just not for you. The opportunity just wasn't there. Even international students were a rarity. International education is now Victoria's biggest export industry, and Melbourne has more international students per capita than any other city in the world. Now, of course, the world of higher education, your world, your experience, is very different. In a world of online delivery, there are no borders. I've taught students in many countries around the globe, including Lebanon, Russia, the US, and most surprising of all, Nauru, where I had a student who was working with an NGO assisting asylum seekers who had been victims of torture. I'm yet to, and I still have contact with that student as well. I'm yet to teach a student in an Antarctic research station, but that can't be too far away. One of the things I love about ACAP, and one of the things we are proud of, is the diversity of our students we teach, and the opportunity that we offer to so many students from so many backgrounds. Their diversity, your diversity, adds a richness to our classrooms, be they on campus or online. And I'm humbled by the determination shown by many of our students in successfully navigating the demands of high-level study despite enormous personal challenges. Your stories of resilience are inspirational. And honestly, I don't know how some of you do it. The student profile today is profoundly different from when I first graduated, and that's a good thing. That's opportunity. One student in particular will always stand out to me. Several years ago, I was made aware of a student studying psychology who had locked-in syndrome. The only body part that this student was able to voluntarily move were his eyes. And he used his eye movements to control a computer. And that's how he completed all of his assessments and participated in tutorials by writing and speaking with eye movements. When I was at uni, there was no way a student with that type of disability would have a hope in hell of getting a degree, but now they're a graduate. I do think, however, that there is one area in which students back in the old days did have the upper hand. Because we essentially had to attend face-to-face classes, there wasn't any other type of class. We spent a lot of time on campus, just hanging around. That was the social side of university life, and to me it was just as valuable as the academic experience, perhaps more so. I was lucky enough to forge lifelong friendships at university, and it was there that I met the person who was to later become my wife of 35 years, still is, and is also a university professor. Sadly, there is no permanent memorial to my two most memorable university experiences. Ordering the second beer at the La Trobe University bar when it opened in 1984, some agriculture science student muscled his way to the front and got the first order in, and consuming 100 chicken nuggets in 2 hours at the Macca's over the road from La Trobe Uni on the day of its opening in 1985. Thank God there were no phone cameras then. Some acts of heroism will forever remain hidden. When my own sons started attending uni, they're both graduated now, I was amazed at how little they actually spent on campus. I quizzed my eldest son about this, and he told me that there was no need, all the lectures were recorded. But how do you get to meet people, I asked? How do you get to meet girls? Which for me, as a 19-year-old in 1980, was about the most important reason for going to uni. He looked me in the eye and said one word: Tinder. In fact, he did meet his current girlfriend on Tinder, and they've been together for 7 years and they're about to buy a house together, so who am I to say anything bad about Tinder? So I do hope that you have been lucky enough to forge new and long-standing friendships in your time at ACAP. And as I say to all of my new students at orientation, take a look around the room. Your future life partner might be sitting in here right now, right next to you, because that's what happened to me. I do get some strange looks when I say that, but I'm sure you get the sentiment. And what about the world that you are graduating into? It's a very different world from my world of 1985. Let's focus on two areas: crime and mental health and well-being, because that's what many of you have been studying. You may have read recently that crime is the #1 area of concern for Victorian citizens. Crime, of course, has unfortunately always been with us and always will be, but its profile has changed. Now we have borderless crimes, IT-based crimes such as cyber terrorism and identity theft, Terrorism in all of its heinous forms, hate speech. Patterns of drug use have changed, and these changes are associated with a change in the criminal behaviour associated with drug use. We've all read about the so-called ICE epidemic. Domestic violence, which has always sadly been with us, is no longer something that stays behind closed doors, a private matter among families. We confront these issues bravely, openly, and a lot of that is due to the courage of victim survivors who have been instrumental in changing our perceptions, attitudes and responses to such crimes. Is the world a better or worse place than it was in 1985? I think neither. It's just different. I'm not a Pollyanna, I'm not a Chicken Little, I'm just a realist. Every generation has its opportunities, every generation has its challenges. Beware of boomers like me who sit around talking about the good old days. Trust me, they had their moments, but they weren't that great and the music was rubbish. I would much rather be living in 2025 than 1985, but I would like that hair back. And what of mental health? Unlike a generation ago, today we speak openly about issues such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, stress-related illness, bullying, relationship difficulties, bipolar disorder, dietary and body image disorders, autism spectrum disorders, intellectual disability, learning disability, gender dysphoria, drug and alcohol abuse, trauma, and a range of other mental health issues. These have always existed, but there is a refreshing willingness to deal with these issues openly, discuss them publicly, and meet them head on. By any index, depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress are associated with a bigger human and financial cost burden to Australia than any other category of illness, more than heart disease, more than cancer, more than anything. 1 in 4 Australians either has a disability or is closely associated with somebody with a disability, which is where the NDIS, despite its problems, is having a profound effect on the lives of millions of Australians and the working lives of many of today's graduates. Finally, there are those areas that sit in the nexus of criminal justice, psychology, counselling, social work and law. You don't have to walk too far outside the doors of this building to see evidence of homelessness. And we know that homelessness is associated with a raft of other challenges: mental illness, drug and alcohol use, trauma, a range of disabilities. Homeless people are often victims of crime and have experienced abusive backgrounds. This is the pointy end of what everyone in this room has studied. These are the areas where it all comes together, and it is incredibly important that you people who are graduating in the areas of counselling, criminal justice, social work, psychology and law use what you have learnt to address these issues head on, to help us understand them, to explain them, to learn more about them and to respond to them. This is why you got into these areas in the first place. This is your challenge. This is your opportunity to make a real difference to people's lives. And I want to tell you a brief story related to this. This story actually comes from my wife, who does a lot of research in the area of mental health. And she tells a story about a research team who, during the COVID pandemic, were doing research for the government, which involved interviewing homeless people and people who lived regularly in shelters and supported accommodation, on how they were getting on during the pandemic, particularly in the context of the services they'd received. And as part of this research, they asked a number of questions that had Likert scales, 5-point Likert scales. And she tells the story of one respondent who said, quote, "Where's the option to say it was great?" And the researchers looked at this person quizzically and said, what do you mean it was great? And the interviewee said, "Well, for the first time, someone's actually asking me how I'm getting on. And they're paying attention to what I'm saying. They're interested in me. They're offering me all sorts of services and they're giving me more money to spend on the stuff that I need. That's why I want an option to say that it's great." It's not rocket surgery, is it? And I remember thinking, why did it take a global pandemic for that to happen? The final thing I want to talk with you about today is failure. Now, you're probably thinking, wow, what a downer. He wants to talk about failure. Here we are celebrating success and he wants to talk about failure. What's he on about? Hear me out. Failure is not something to be scared of. It's something to accept, embrace and learn from. It's an essential part of learning. I could literally plaster my office wall with all of the rejection letters that I've received over my career. But while these failures can get you down at times, which is natural, at the end of the day, they're simply speed bumps on a long road that's headed in a positive direction. One phrase that I regularly say to students, particularly when they're dealing with the stress of doing something for the first time, like a research report or some statistics or something like that, and they have this really fear they're going to stuff it up, I say, look, remember, you do everything in your life for the first time once. Okay? You do everything in your life for the first time once. And this is just another thing that you're doing for the first time. If you fail at the first attempt, don't worry, don't be hard on yourself. It's not a reflection of you as a good person. Learn from it, grow from it. Try to do better next time. Failure is just another weave in the tapestry. I was talking to an ex-student recently who took 5 years to get into the postgraduate course she wanted to enrol to. 5 years of applying, 5 years of rejection. And each time she tried to do something, a little something, no matter how small, to make herself just that little bit more competitive. She was successful on her 6th attempt and is now living her dream by working as a clinical psychologist. As a legendary Manchester United coach, Sir Alex Ferguson said, quote, "I don't judge a player by what he does when he's got the ball. I judge him by what he does when he hasn't got the ball, because he hasn't got the ball 99% of the time. It's what you do when you don't have the ball that makes the difference." Now, my favourite all-time quote about failure is one that I actually have memorised this off by heart, but I'm going to read it today because I don't want to stuff it up. So I'm going to refer to my notes. And it's from US President Theodore Roosevelt, president of the latter part of the 1930s, part of the 20th century, who was a very interesting guy who had a great turn of phrase. It's called The Man in the Arena. Now, you're going to have to forgive the very gendered language. It was written 140 years ago. And it goes like this. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." I wouldn't mind having that on my gravestone, but my kids are cheap, and I doubt they'd pay for it. And so as I come to the end of this address, I want to leave you with a short quote and a story. The quote is an old Irish proverb, and again, please forgive the gendered language. If you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. All of you, I'm sure, have ambitions, goals, plans for the future, and that's great. Pursue those with all the energy and commitment you can muster, and use your education at ACAP as a launching pad for those ambitions. But don't be surprised if the river course of your life takes you in new and different directions, as I'm sure it already has. And if that happens, just jump in and enjoy the ride. Don't try to swim against the current. That's just God laughing at your plans. Laugh back and just go with it. To this day, I have no idea how I ended up a psychology professor. It just seemed to happen. Throughout most of my life, all I ever wanted to be was, in no particular order, a tram driver, a surgeon, an astronaut, an actor, or a radio football commentator. And I'm still trying to work out what I'm going to do when I grow up. In the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy the ride, and I'd encourage you to do the same. As I often say to students, the direction of your life comes down to 6 critical decisions. And whenever I say that, they always say, "Why 6?" I never answer that. Think about your own life. How many of those critical decisions do you think you've made? How many do you think you have left? And finally, the story I want to tell you is about getting the balance right, the balance in life, which can be pretty tough in the demanding world in which we live, particularly as you launch yourselves off into a new world of work and or study and all of the new demands and responsibilities that go with it. I often tell this story to my students at the end of term when things are going tough, but I think there's something valuable for new graduates to hear. It goes like this. A professor stood before his class with some strange-looking items in front of him on his desk. When the class began, he wordlessly picked up a very large and empty jar and proceeded to fill it with 20 golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They said it was. The professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles rolled into the open areas between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if the jar was full. They agreed it was. The professor next picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. Of course, the sand filled up everything else. He asked once more if the jar was full. The students responded with a unanimous yes. The professor then produced 2 cans of beer from under the table and poured the entire contents into the jar, effectively filling the empty space between the sand. The students laughed. "Now," said the professor as the laughter subsided, "I want you to recognise that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things, your family, your children, your health, your friends, your favourite passions. And if everything else was lost and only they remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, your car. The important material things your own. The sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, he continued, there's no room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same goes for life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you'll never have room for the things that are important to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Spend time with your children. Spend time with your parents, your friends, all those people you love. Visit your grandparents. Take time to get medical checkups. Take the dog for a walk. Take your bestie out to dinner. Watch your favourite TV show. Go dancing. See a movie. Tune out to some good music. Catch up with a friend for coffee. There will always be time to clean the house, mow the lawn, and answer email. Take care of the golf balls first. The things that really matter to you. Set your priorities. The rest is just sand. One of the students raised her hand and inquired what the beer represented. The professor smiled and said, I'm glad you asked. You see, even though the jar was completely full, I was still able to pour those in those 2 beers. This shows you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple of beers. Thank you very much for indulging me this morning. Please enjoy the rest of the day, and once again, my congratulations to you all.
Thank you, John, and I think we have a small token of appreciation. Thank you very much. Sorry it's not a couple of beers, but it'll do. ACAP recognises student academic achievement through the award of the ACAP Medal. Please join me in acknowledging Justine Carell, who graduated in the Graduate Diploma of Psychological Science at the Sydney campus and who was the recent ACAP Medal recipient. And now, a special part of today's ceremony. On behalf of all the ACAP graduates, I now invite Matilda Board, graduate in the Masters of Social Work qualifying, on stage to deliver the graduate address. Matilda.
Hello, thank you. I want to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present. I want to acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and highlight how much of an honour it has been to learn on these lands that have been cared for over 65,000 years. I would like to express my profound gratitude to my peers and colleagues here today. It has been a remarkable privilege to learn alongside all of you over the past 2 years, and furthermore, it is an exceptional honour to represent this cohort of students here today. What a wild 2 years it has been since I enrolled in the Master of Social Work to stand here today graduating. To be honest, enrolling in this degree feels like a lifetime ago. I struggle to recall the moment I decided to return to study. Considerably challenging. Taking on more than double my HECS debt now is something that's been hard to reflect on at times. However, standing here today brings back the enthusiasm I remember feeling when I made the decision to pursue a career in social work. I remember walking into the classroom during the first trimester and feeling incredibly daunted by the thought that somehow I had managed to get myself into a postgraduate degree, fearing that I might not just be able to hack it. I recall sitting among wonderfully diverse students from a multitude of professional and academic backgrounds, including psychology, sociology, law, medicine, nursing, and teaching. The collective contribution of this knowledge facilitated many hours of discussions and conversations that truly allowed us to interrogate our own beliefs, values, and biases while examining various sociological and psychological theories through different lenses and life experiences. Every trimester and every unit sometimes felt like they would never end, and yet having this moment today to reflect on these experiences enables me to look back at those times that felt like an absolute grind, consuming every ounce of my cognitive and emotional energy with much greater fondness and admiration for the resilience and perseverance that we've all showed throughout this degree. Like most things in life, the last few years came with many highs and many lows. The lows, of course, vary for each of us. For me, the time I committed to this degree took away from moments with my family and friends, leaving my days for most of the last 2 years filled with waking up at 5 a.m. to go to my retail job, then coming home to spend the rest of the afternoon studying before heading to class in the evening. The late nights and early mornings spent completing assignments and preparing for presentations, along with the countless hours reading textbooks and journal articles, were nothing short of exhausting. The feeling that my best might not have been enough to achieve the mark I hoped for was sometimes a tough pill to swallow, often resulting in a few tears here and there. On top of that, dedicating 1,000 hours to an unpaid placement was nothing short of almost the most challenging part of it all. The highs, though, are the lessons that the lows have taught me. Learning that feedback truly is a gift that enables us to continue to grow and improve. And being on the other side of this experience now, graduating, allows for reflection on how proud we all should be of the strength, hard work and effort we've put into getting to this point today. The biggest highlight of undertaking this qualification is having had the opportunity to learn from my peers. We are so lucky to have had a cohort of students with such diversity. Within the discipline of social work, we interrogate the notion of social justice and equality, and it has been a privilege to sit next to and learn from my peers in this process. My favourite classes, the ones I will look back with fondness throughout my career, are the ones where we had incredible discussions about our own experiences of inequality and how they have impacted our lives. It would be remiss of me to not acknowledge my privilege standing up here today as a white Australian citizen, having observed the incredible resilience of the many international students, as well as domestic students from an array of different cultural backgrounds here today, whose experiences have been significantly different to my own. I truly believe that being able to learn from you all and having the honour of you sharing your experiences of inequality with me has made me a better social worker. Now, to the question of what's next. For me, since finishing my placement in December last year, I've been employed as a specialist family violence practitioner and am working for the Orange Door. I continue to build on my skills as a practitioner every day, and call me crazy, but I'm already looking to get back into study again soon and dive into some research. I look forward to staying in touch with my peers to hear about the amazing things they're all doing with their careers. To finish, I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude to the exceptional teaching and leadership team here at ACAP. The support provided by educators, along with their enthusiasm for their roles as social workers or leaders in their respective fields, has been truly inspiring. I will forever be grateful for their openness in allowing me to pose numerous questions and at times to challenge their perspectives. Most importantly, I would like to thank my family and friends, some of who are here today. My partner, Jack, has been a pillar of strength for me over the last few years, and I truly can't thank him enough for his unwavering love and support. Also to my parents, who have always been my biggest cheerleaders in everything that I've done, so thank you. I wish to extend this thanks to all the family members and friends of my peers who are present here today, as well as those who are unable to attend. Without your support, listening to us voice our frustrations regarding assignments and accommodating the need to cancel plans due to the commitments of study, thank you all for fostering an environment in which we felt capable during times of doubt. May we kindly have a round of applause for our guests here today in recognition of their valuable support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matilda, and token of our appreciation. Well, we are almost at the end of the formal ceremony today. I can't help but reflect on Auntie Zita, Lara, John, and now Matilda, and the words that they've shared with us and the opportunity for us to reflect on where we are and the ability of us individually and as a college to have an impact on our community. So to everyone who's spoken to us today, thank you very much. A number of wonderful presentations. We have, as part of a number of those presentations, acknowledged and thanked families, friends, supporters. And I hope you will bear with me in asking you to do that one more time. As I often say, as an my second year as an undergraduate was the best 5 years of my life. I never did get that undergraduate degree. But I went back years later with parents and kids and families and things, and if it wasn't for their support, I know that I wouldn't have got there and I wouldn't be standing here with you today. So graduates particularly, I'd like you to just join me in thanking your families, friends and all of your supporters for the outstanding contribution. I would also like to thank our distinguished guests, our academic staff, our professional staff, Cassie and the team particularly for organising today and bringing together the ceremony in this wonderful, wonderful venue. We will be serving refreshments in the foyer and opportunity for photography through till, I think it's 1 o'clock, we're looking to have regalia returned. So on that note, once again, thank you to everybody for coming along. Congratulations to our new graduates. Thank you everybody for making this a very special ceremony. And if you would please stand with me for the academic recession. After the academic party leaves the stage, we ask our graduates to follow us out and then everybody else, and we'll see you in the foyer.